the first question a lot of people have is, can I succeed at my personal injury case? I'm a firm believer in one of the first things you have to do is sit down with your client, gather all the facts, have a totally thorough and honest conversation. Too many lawyers take a quick hit, they sign up the client, they yes the client to death, and they lead them down the path of frustration for years with no recovery. I never want to be in that position, and as a person hurt in an accident, you should not want to be in that position. So how do you know you're going to succeed? Granted, there are no guarantees, but there are certain elements that I look at up front. I will go through the details of your accident as thoroughly as possible. Look at it from all different angles. The first element is liability. Who is at fault for the accident? Can I prove somebody else was at fault for causing your accident? Is somebody going to prove you're at fault for the accident? And it's okay if there's a combination of fault, but I need to have a sound footing that I could at least establish that the offending driver, the other driver, the property owner, the construction site manager, somebody did something or failed to do something that caused your accident. That's the first element. It's called liability. The second element is damages. How were you injured? How significant are your injuries? In a car accident case, you're required to prove that you have what the law considers to be a serious injury. Death, dismemberment, broken bones, disfiguring scars, if you're pregnant, losing the baby, being out of work for at least 90 days, or having a significant or permanent functional problem. Your typical neck or back injury, you might not have a broken bone, but you might not be able to move it the same way. You might not have the same strength or sensation. That might qualify as a serious injury, and then the question is, how has it affected you? What is the value of those injuries? So once you prove the liability, meaning the fault for the accident, once you prove the significance of your injuries and the permanence and how it affects you, the last part of the equation is, how do you ever get compensated? Where does the money come from? And there has to be somebody that has an insurance policy that will cover you for that loss. Classic example of a very difficult case is you're in a restaurant or a bar, there's a drunk patron, and he assaults you and you have a severe injury. So now you have great liability, you have significant injuries, but there won't be any insurance coverage to compensate you at the end of the day, and that will just lead to your utter frustration. So once you determine that there's liability, there are damages, and insurance coverage, now you have the makings of a successful case. The value of the case is determined by a host of factors, and also the value of a case is determined by the amount of insurance coverage available. You could have life-changing injuries that require multiple surgeries. We can go to trial. You can receive a verdict of millions of dollars. If there's no insurance coverage to pay that verdict at the end of the day, it doesn't do a whole lot to fairly compensate you in a practical sense. So that's an overview of really what an attorney should be looking at when they answer your question, can I recover and how much can I recover in a lawsuit?